Hi, everybody. Thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel, Politics with Sherry Jacobus. And if you just happen to find me from scrolling around, I hope you'll help me out. Hit that subscribe button. Lots going on, as usual, in the era of Trump. I want to start with some bad news for Trump. Bad news that he, of course, is lying about. The Financial Times is reporting that wholesale prices have just shot up 3.3% as Trump's tariffs take hold on our economy. This is just the start. So he's lying about that. He thinks this is all a great success. Yesterday, I talked about either in my long form video or one of the shorts that I do here. I can't remember which one. That Mike Madrid, who's one of my favorite political analysts, and he's an expert on Latino voter issues, and he's had people on his podcast on Substack. They really dig into this stuff, and I was thinking about him when I came across information yesterday that says that Latino voters that voted for Trump, remember that, and Mike Madrid was warning Democrats that you got a problem with young Latino men, second, third generation, and they didn't heed his warning. But what these Latino voters are doing, they went with Trump because of the economy, because of prices, because Trump was saying he was going to lower grocery prices. Grocery prices are up. All prices are up. The grocery prices are up, and he is now losing those Latino voters. Okay? That is bad news for Trump. So it's not just Latino voters who are going to be affected by the economic impact of Trump's tariffs that are taking a hit. There will be a lot of more generic white bread, vanilla MAGA Republicans who vote for him because of the economy. They aren't the red hat wearing toothless idiots that go to the rallies. But they're thinking, yeah, we don't really care. He's a bad guy, but they're looking at their own numbers. Well, that's going to affect them. Remember, nobody really cares about this stuff. They're okay when Trump is hurting other people until it affects them. So when you start looking at all the different aspects that are being hit by Trump, so some of these people may not care that ICE agents are acting like Gestapo, that this is like Nazi Germany. These thugs, these sicko, psycho thugs. Now, they may not understand yet that Trump and MAGA Republicans just gave them a bigger budget than even the U.S. Marines. But they're thinking, oh, that's going to happen to other people. That doesn't affect me. Okay. Well, when it does start affecting you, you're going to start caring. And that's what we have to watch, because the impact can be a little slower. And people become a little bit desensitized to the big dramatic events like what these thug ICE agents are doing. They at first are alarmed, I'm sure, that Trump is taking over the National Guard and sending in places without permission or being asked to by governors. He's just sort of circumventing them. And he's only doing it to blue state governors. And he's claiming it's because of crime. And as we talked about yesterday, Washington, D.C. is not even in the top 5 crime cities. And Trump brings up Baltimore. Yeah, Maryland has a black Democratic governor, so he wants to do that. Baltimore crime is down lower than it's been in years. So Trump is making this up. Now, you can show one violent crime in any city or even a small town or someone's backyard and alarm people and play on their emotions and pretend like, oh, this is happening. Now the National Guard has to come in. It is a lie. Okay. Of the 5 top cities for crime in this country, only one has a Democratic governor, and that would be Peoria, Illinois, which is at number 5, and that's my original hometown. But there are 2 cities in Ohio, I think Cleveland and Toledo. Arkansas, remember Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the governor there. Tennessee. So when you've got these red state governors that run the states where the highest crime is, and Trump is ignoring them, that's how you know that this was a political hit job. And that's a pretty good talking point for you to use for your MAGA friends who insist that, oh, he's got to go into these cities, these blue state cities. No, he doesn't. So I think if we keep it simple with a few facts, it makes for some interesting conversation and probably silence on the part of your MAGA friends, if you still have them in your life, and you get in these conversations and they're justifying this behavior. There's video out today of Washington, D.C. police, not ICE agents, not National Guard, but actual Washington, D.C. police who now operate under corrupt criminal Pam Bondi. They are they were doing something, rescuing somebody. They're acting, being very intimidating on the streets here of my city. and they have checkpoints, and people are actually able to stop the checkpoints. You can push back. We've seen this. Media is not showing a lot of that. And also, when others are taking video, here's what's happening. Somebody took video of somebody taking video of the Washington, D.C. police doing something they weren't supposed to be doing, being really rough with somebody, just being intimidating thugs, acting like ICE agents. And again, these guys aren't masked. So the person with the phone standing there videoing them, they took him, they threw him to the ground, and people were saying, don't spray him, don't spray him. I guess they were going to spray him with mace or something. And somebody else was videotaping that. So here's a message to Trump and all of your thugs in the police force. There is always somebody there with a phone taking video. You can try and shut us down, but we're going to catch you. And one day you will be held accountable. I just recorded my podcast for Patreon. I had Eric Ham on. He's with AP News. He's Washington White House correspondent. And he does a few other things. He's what we call the best political analyst you never heard of. He's very, very good. And he wondered if perhaps these new, because he's lived in D.C. a long time, as I have. And he says, this does not sound like the behavior of Washington, D.C. police officers to act like Trump's new thug Gestapo ICE agents. And he wondered just kind of out loud, because he hadn't seen the video when I brought it up. He wondered out loud. He says, I wonder if these were new cops on the beat. Perhaps they had been in desk jobs or sidelined for whatever reasons, and in jobs where they were not on the street, but they were still technically employed by the DC police force, for them to come on the streets and behave like that. Those of us who have lived here for a long time understand this. This is not normal behavior. So questioning whether these were actually typical traditional Washington, D.C. police officers was a very interesting and legitimate question. So Trump is actually trying to recruit people with this mentality. There are legal groups, and of course we have good pro bono lawyers, or I hope there will be groups that band together and offer to represent for free, pro bono, anybody in the National Guard or the DC police force, ICE agents, if there aren't any left that would do this, who are asked to do something they know is unethical, against the rules, unconstitutional, or illegal. We do have to push back on this. We have seen citizens pushing back successfully on ICE agents. There are DC checkpoints where citizens are pushing back on the police that are just behaving in ways that we've never seen in my fair city, ever. They are the ones causing the disturbance, not crime. They're in Georgetown. They're around Howard. They're not even going into what would be considered maybe the poorer, more crime and drug-ridden neighborhoods. They're trying to intimidate all of us. I live in this city again. I mentioned I moved back here after a 12-year absence, but I lived here for 30 years before that. I'm very well aware of how these things go. So pushing back matters. And frankly, Democrats haven't done that much. That's why I'm praising Gavin Newsom for using his power, using all of his power to push back. And I think Governor Pritzker will do it, and others need to do it as well. Use your power. Well, we do have power as citizens, and we do not have to put up with this. So we can familiarize ourselves with best practices, the law, and we need to push back against Trump, because he is crashing through all of the guardrails. And we have to let the people that he's ordering around who think they have to obey these orders to know that they do have options. They do not have to do this. Okay? And those who are breaking the law, but they think it's okay because Trump said they could do it, they will be held accountable. That's the message to many of his cabinet members, to Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. I think, as I said before, I think Dan Bongino kind of held back for a while, because he's like, whoa, I didn't know we were going to be doing this, but this is like a mobster. Trump draws you in. He gets you to commit a little bit of a crime, do something wrong, and then then he's your only protector, so he draws you in so you commit more crimes for him. Someone used the example of Michael Cohen, but the difference is Michael Cohen liked it. Michael Cohen sought out Trump to do this type of work. That's a different sort of psychosis, in my view. There's a glitch there when you like doing it. But as we know, like these ICE agents, our friend Dr. Jeffrey Grammer, a psychiatrist and decorated retired Army colonel who has dealt a lot with military, a psychiatrist. So he wrote the piece for Salon.com, and he's been on my podcast. and we've talked about this, about the psychology of these new ICE agents. What kind of person is drawn to this, wearing the masks, jumping out of cars, kidnapping people, beating them up? And that's how you build your own private militia. So that's what we're up against, and that's what we have to fight back against, because Trump draws you in. So he does this with staff and cabinet members. Now, somebody like, in my view, a Michael Cohen, they are drawn to that. They like it. And there are some people who are drawn to being a new ICE agent, maybe not what ICE agents were before, but what they are now, drawn to the job for a very different reason. And I think what Trump is doing now is he'd like for the police in the cities that he wants to go in and take over, basically occupy us, put us under siege. He would like for those individuals to be that type of person who enjoy this work, who get off on it, who are a little bit bloodthirsty. And I think that's a battle that we can fight as individuals in our own communities, like the people who blocked the checkpoint in DC, the people who block the ICE agents and get videos, the people who stand up to these thugs and let them know that we, the people, will not put up with this. Just like Gavin Newsom is using all of his power, we have to use all of our power. As I've said many times before, there's no cavalry coming in to save us. It is us. It is up to us in our own lives to work on the MAGA, so they at least have the truth. So at least you out them. They can't say they didn't know. They didn't know. You make sure that what's going on. So at least they have to admit that they're okay with it. Many people are okay now with the idea of Trump, the Epstein files. If Trump is caught, if proven, and that to have raped underage girls, there are a number of Republicans, I think I saw 47%, could have that number wrong, that they wouldn't turn against him. I think that's because he successfully was able to send Congress out of town. Mike Johnson shut them all down so they couldn't vote on the Epstein files, so that he could work on them a little bit, get people numb to the idea, boiling the frogs slowly. Okay? So that if and when the videos come out, people will be like, well, yeah, we knew that. Going back to my original point, all of this proves that people only care when it affects them. A lot of people care when it affects them. Unfortunately, as I've said, close elections are won or lost in the margins that we're playing in, that all of us have to play in, because it is up to us to do this now, in those margins where every little vote counts, the little sliver of people that we can switch, that we can flip, that we can convince, you tell them they don't have to do this. These are the people who don't care about what the ICE agents are doing. They don't care about Alligator Alcatraz unless they or someone they love gets sent there. They don't care about the Epstein files. They care about grocery prices. They care that their Medicare is going to be cut back. They care about preserving their Social Security. They care about the impact these tariffs are going to have on them once they start figuring out that everything in their life will cost more. Everything. They're going to care about the impact this has on their children, education, college, all of it, taxes, public services. So when it starts affecting them personally, they care. I think it's important that we understand that, because that is something that we can help with by educating them. But again, it's about using the power. And do I have the power that Gavin Newsom has? No, but thank goodness as a governor, he's using it. Senators as individuals don't have power. We see a lot of individual senators going out there doing what they can, being very good communicators, Chris Murphy and a few others. But as a collective, they don't have power because of Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is the one standing in the way, I believe, of daily press briefings that I brought up. Now, I will say that these senators could privately talk to Schumer and Jeffries, the senators and House members who want to implement this, because we have to push back. Daily fact checking. We are ceding this entire space to Trump. It's not that he's so good at this, it's this that we're not fighting back. Every news cycle should have, when the White House gets up there and they lie, should have the fact checking. Media is not going to do it, but they are kind of looking for the content, that he said, she said. So let's give it to them. So far, we're not. It costs nothing. I've laid out many, many times, as you know, how to get these press briefings done in the Capitol, so they're on par with the White House briefing room. under the auspices of Congress. So assess each congressional office and use your policy and steering committee money in the same room, set up every day. It could be a small room like the White House press briefing room, and some senator could give up, their Capitol hideaway. A lot of them have these basement hideaways. And the House and Senate press galleries are chock full of press right there waiting. This would be their beat. Again, if you move it to the DNC, that's too much of a hike, and it's also no longer their beat. You have to make it as easy as possible. No cutting corners on this. There's no reason to cut corners on this. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries just need to give the word, and it can be done. There. And they aren't doing it. They are not using their power. The individual senators individually are going out there, some of them, and they're very good at this. But a few of them could get together and first privately go to Schumer, use their power. And then if Schumer pushes back, because I think he's too threatened, it's egos, then they go public with it. And there might be a way for them to band together and still be able to do it on their own. I don't know if it would pass muster with editors and producers and those types with the media, that it would be considered enough of a official congressional function. But if it's officially done under the auspices of Democrats in Congress, they could do it. So it is about using your power, whatever your power is. That's important. Whatever you can do. It's not just messaging. It's fact checking. It's using your power. And everybody's power is different and is at different levels. Using your power. And we all have some. We all have some in our lives. And then remembering it's in those thin margins. Don't say, oh, no, you can't change any MAGA's mind. Yeah, you can actually. And again, we know that there are cold-hearted idiots, MAGA idiots, who vote for Trump and Republicans because they think it helps their bottom line. They don't care, again, about what the ICE agents are doing. They don't care about Alligator Alcatraz. They don't care. They care about themselves. They care about their 401k. They care about their Social Security. They care about their kids being able to go to college and being able to pay for it. Sad commentary on the people in our lives in this country, maybe. But if you remember those few things, it's going to help you be successful, because I've heard actually for 10 years now, people like, what can I do other than vote or go to a local protest? And that's why I think having these conversations and kind of working through this, and I actually do think about this stuff, and I am a strategist, and I've run campaigns where you need volunteers and make sure that everybody can contribute in the best way that they can and that they're able. And so I kind of use that as a framework for this, because I think there are many of you out there who really, really, really want to make a difference and are frustrated if we don't know what to do other than write a check to your local, Democrat running for office, a good thing. But I know that so many of you want to do more. So hopefully this is helpful. I'd love your suggestions and your feedback in the comments.